Game theory in real life. Outsmart anyone. I once got burned so bad in a meeting, I stopped talking in rooms of more than 3 people for 2 years. It wasn't the disagreement that got me. It was the smile, the subtle silence, the way they all glanced at each other, and I suddenly realized they knew something I didn't. It wasn't about being wrong, it was about being outside the game. That day I learned, painfully, that logic doesn't run the world. Power does. And game theory isn't just for economists. It's for anyone who doesn't want to be eaten alive in rooms like that. Game theory in real life isn't about equations. It's about what people really want but won't say out loud. Approval, leverage, immunity. Most of the time, you're not in a conversation. You're in a negotiation cloaked as small talk. You're in a territory scan disguised as a brainstorm. You're in a silent war where eye contact, who interrupts whom, and who stands closest to the boss tells you exactly who's winning. And if you're only paying attention to words, you've already lost. There's this fantasy that being right means you'll win. That hard work will be noticed. That people will treat you the way you treat them. That if you stay out of the games won't affect you. That's human nature. Psychology 101. We crave fairness so much, we lie to ourselves about the jungle we're in. But power dynamics don't care about your fairness instinct. The unspoken social rules run deeper than any policy manual. And the first rule is this: the game is always on. Every human group, from kindergartens to corporations, silently organizes itself into a hierarchy. Who leads? Who follows? Who gets blamed? Who gets away with it? Most of it is unconscious. But once you learn how to read people, really read them, you see it. The micro expressions when someone gets challenged. The glance to check if others are agreeing. The subtle shifts in tone when someone of higher status enters the room. You see who's calculating, who's reacting, who's manipulating, and who's pretending not to notice. This isn't about turning into a cold strategist. It's about emotional intelligence in the rawest form. Seeing reality as it is, not as you wish it were. Because if you don't see the games, you'll end up as someone else's pawn. That's why social survival skills matter. That's why street smart skills can save you more often than school ever will. Think about your workplace. Who actually has power? Not who has the title, but who makes decisions stick? Who do people not interrupt? Who can say something stupid, and it still gets taken seriously? That's social hierarchy explained in real time. That's where manipulation tactics thrive: subtle framing, false modesty, strategic silence. You can smell it once you tune in. And once you do, you'll stop taking things personally, because you'll see the structure underneath the mess. Here's the cruel part. Most manipulation isn't personal. It's systemic. People don't wake up and say, "Today I'll be a puppet master." They just want safety, recognition, leverage. So they play whatever role works in that environment. If the culture rewards compliance, they submit. If it rewards rebellion, they perform outrage. And if it rewards chaos, they stir the pot and act surprised when things break. You can't out-moral a system. You have to outplay it. That doesn't mean becoming fake. It means becoming fluent, knowing which part of you is being activated: your pride, your fear, your need for approval. Knowing when you're being baited. Knowing when silence is more powerful than explanation. That's a survival mindset in social terms. Not freezing when you're under subtle attack, not crumbling when you're ignored, not chasing people who gain power by withholding attention. You'll notice something else too. Most people are running unconscious scripts. They think they're reacting freely, but really they're stuck in emotional loops from childhood. Trying to prove their worth. Trying to win parental love through authority figures. Trying to disappear to stay safe. That's why office politics tips often miss the real point. It's not about networking harder, it's about decoding the emotional blueprints that shape adult games. So if you want to win in life, not just survive, but play your own game, you need to start here. What role do you keep falling into? The fixer? The pleaser? The silent rebel? The cynic who never commits? You don't need to fix it overnight. Just name it, because the moment you name it, it starts to lose power. That's how psychological manipulation breaks down, from the inside out. You're not here to fight every battle. You're here to know which battlefield you're on. Muta 1 isn't about making you more likable. It's about making you unfuckwithable. Grounded, sharp, quietly aware of the power flows in every room you walk into. Because the game isn't going away. But the blindfold can. And once that blindfold slips, something strange happens. You stop overreacting. You stop needing to be seen all the time. You start watching more than proving. And the room begins to shift. Not because you're louder, but because you're no longer predictable. Predictability is easy to control. But once you become a moving piece with your own logic, people adjust. Fast. Most people never realize how many of their moves are made for invisible audiences. You're not talking to your boss. You're defending your ego to your father. You're not avoiding conflict. You're replaying an old loop where conflict meant abandonment. Until you see that, you'll keep reacting to ghosts and calling it logic. Game theory in real life isn't about domination. It's about clarity, seeing where leverage actually lives. Realizing that sometimes the strongest play is withdrawal. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's throwing someone else a bone to trigger their own greed. Sometimes it's letting someone underestimate you long enough for them to hang themselves. These aren't cold tactics. They're survival instincts refined into strategy. Here's the gut punch. You don't get rewarded for being authentic. You get rewarded for being strategically authentic. Honesty isn't a virtue in most rooms, it's a currency. And if you give it too freely, without checking who's cashing in, you'll be drained before the real game even begins. That's not pessimism. That's street smart skills. Know where your truths land. Know who's listening. Know who's keeping score. And understand this, power is fluid. You're never fully safe or secure in any group. The moment you stop paying attention, the hierarchy shifts. Someone new starts whispering to the decision maker. Someone else gets left out of key meetings. You're not paranoid. You're just waking up. The only thing worse than seeing the manipulation is pretending it's not happening. But once you see it, the fear goes down. Because now it's not personal. It's just a system. A predictable one. And predictable systems can be outmaneuvered. That's when emotional intelligence becomes more than a buzzword. It becomes armor. Not to shut people out, but to stop bleeding every time someone pushes your buttons. You'll start to notice patterns. Who mirrors the boss's language? Who speaks up right after the leader agrees with something? Who throws compliments that double as subtle digs? These aren't just quirks. They're moves. And the moment you stop getting emotionally hijacked by them, you start to win. Quietly. Consistently. Because here's the twist. The goal isn't to become the biggest player. It's to become the one who sees the board. The one who can walk away from a rigged game because you already built another table. That's how to win in life. Not by climbing the wrong ladder faster, but by knowing which ladders are illusions. And the beauty of it is, once you stop needing to win every room, you start moving in ways that no longer depend on validation. That's where real power lives. Not in domination, but in self-possession, knowing your center, choosing your moves, reading the flow instead of forcing it. So the next time you walk into a room, ask yourself, who's really in charge here? Not by title, but by influence. Who's managing energy, not just information? Who's being ignored, and why? Where's the leverage, and what game are you unconsciously playing? Because the game never announces itself. It just keeps moving, silently, ruthlessly, invisibly, unless you see it. Then suddenly, everything makes sense. And from that moment, you're no longer a piece. You're a player. But the question is, are you playing your own game? Or just trying to win one that was never yours to begin with?